Hello and welcome. The Bartle case is seen as a test case for 500 or more elderly investors who face losing their homes because of blue chip and whose lender is the financial giant GE. Here now is Bruce and Judy Bartle to give us a background of themselves and to tell us why they became involved with blue chip. And then they go on to tell us of the disastrous consequences that followed.
We both live in Whangarei. We've lived there most of our life, apart from when I was a meat inspector in Taranaki. That's what my main job was until I turned 28. While we were in Taranaki, we adopted 2 children and we had a third one of our own. We got transferred to Whangarei and were able to Kirikiri and Mauri, where we worked as a meat inspector again. And then we retired to Whangarei, where I was made redundant, and we bought our cleaning business, and that's where we were to the point of 2003 when we retired.
My husband forgot to mention we had a late baby she's about nearly 10 years younger than the youngest of the 3. So we had 4 children. We've never had a lot of money. We've worked hard, and we've been married nearly 50 years. All our children went overseas, the whole lot. We have now 4 married children with 11 grandchildren, and there's a family in London and the other 3 families are in Australia.
Bruce, can you tell us why you went into blue chip?
Well, the reason really was that when you're on a pension, you've got limited money, and as Judy has just said, that our children all lived overseas, and this was a means of us having a little additional income to go and visit them.
Judy, were you both happy to be joining blue chip?
Well, we thought we'd like to hear all about it, so we responded to them, and they sent the advisor up to see us. And when he explained it to us, we said to him, there's just no way we can do this, we can't afford that. So at that point he said, it's underwritten by Lloyd's of London, and he said he gave us the brochures, and it had Wyatt Creech and John Luxford on it, and we thought, that sounds pretty good. He then said, well, you might as well sign the application form for the loan, you might change your mind. And so he said there's no harm in it, you can just rip it up if you don't use it. So we thought, oh well, we might as well do that, so we did. We didn't do anything for months. We actually went over to Australia to see the Australian children. We were away for quite a few weeks, and it was probably about 3 months later that the advisor rang up and said, I've got a new scheme, I'm coming up to Whangarei because he had a brother there, can I come and tell you about it? And that was joint venture.
My feelings on this first visit was that this could not possibly work, because we'd had rentals in the past, and we know exactly that the income is not as good as it might be because of the pitfalls that there are. And I just couldn't see how this could possibly work to return the money that he suggested, because there are all sorts of costs involved.
When Bruce said to him, well, I don't think it's going to work, the advisor said, well, it does work. We asked lots of questions of the advisor, and I think he might have got a bit sick of us emailing all these questions. And eventually he said to us, I'll send up the lawyer to you and he can advise you on what to do. Earlier we'd asked him if we could use our own lawyer, and he said, well, you can, but he said they don't know about blue chip. And our own lawyers, they know the ropes, and they've done hundreds, and they know exactly how to do it all. So we thought, oh well, we'll go with him. So Mr. Matthias came up, and he didn't really explain much about blue chip at all. We had some things in common. I was diabetic, he was diabetic, he had children, I painted, he talked about his son that painted, told us about his holidays he'd had with his children overseas, and basically when we asked him about blue chip, he said there's just no downfalls. He said, I've done so many and everybody's so happy. Nothing's gone wrong with blue chip at all, and you'll be perfectly safe. I asked the lawyer, and I said to him, this is what I believe we might be doing. I believe you're taking 137,000 out of the equity in our home. We'd be buying, with Blue Chip, be buying an apartment. Blue Chip would be paying all the expenses, and we would be getting an extra $400 a fortnight. And after 4 years, the apartment would be sold, and Blue Chip would be receiving 95% of the sale price, and we'd receive 5%. And he said to me, I remember his words, basically that's it. Then I said to him, are there any other loans to come out? And he said, yes. And I said to him, he said, there'll be one more. And I said, well, how much will that be? And he said, no more than 50,000. And he said, and Blue Chip will be taking out further loans. And remembering this was a joint venture, we believed him.
At this stage of the proceedings, had the loans been emphasised?
Well, what we understood was that we were going to surrender $137,474 from the equity of our home, and that was the understanding that I had, and that during that time Blue Chip would be able to pay all of the repayments of any of the loans. They were advised, we were told that they were going to pay all of their costs, the fees, the accountant fees, the management fees, all of those costs, and yet they could still provide us with $451 a fortnight, which was taxable, to make it sound more realistic, and that was all we signed up for, nothing more than that.
He also said to us, there will be 2 documents coming by fax, and I want you to take a copy of them, just to sign them and send them back. And when these came, we had no idea that they were loans. The title of them was Declaration of Financial Position. When I asked him, I said, what are these documents for? And he said, just to make sure that you're able to pay. And we understood it was the 137,000 and the 50,000 because we had not been told about any other loans.
So Bruce and Judy, based on what you knew at the time, you were both happy and looking forward to the next few years.
Yes, we were. The Blue Chip were living up to what they'd said, and we were quite comfortable with it, and we had no reason to believe otherwise.
They'd also started paying us from the minute we signed up. So it was 9 months later that we learnt how much we owed. Mr. Matthias came up with the title deeds for us to sign. He came into the house and got us to sign them and said, now you're the proud owners of this beautiful apartment in Auckland. And then he then produced to us the statements to say that we owed $639,000. That was the first time we had any idea that we owed that much. And I said to him, that's an awful lot of money. I said, what happens if something goes wrong? Who has to pay? He said, you do. And then he took off in his car. I don't think he even said goodbye. And I had got a terrible shock.
I think that this is quite disgusting, actually, because the same man had told us that there was what he would agreed to really turned out to be what they told us is not what they sold us.
The lawyer had also told us, not on this visit, the visit before, that to protect our home we should have a trust. So we paid $27,000 the minimum into a trust. We have no papers, we have nothing to say we've got a trust, nothing, and yet we paid that money to him.
How did you hear about Blue Chip's collapse?
Judy and I had won a trip to the Poor Knights on the boat called the Perfect Day, and this was just an exciting day. The weather was right, so we went out on this boat. It was absolutely beautiful. We came back and we turned on the radio, and the shock horror, Blue Chip had gone into financial receivership. We were both stunned. We couldn't get home quick enough to turn on television news, and there it was, blazing full page on the television set, that Blue Chip had gone into receivership. What were we going to do?
We'll take a short break now. Join us for Chapter 2 when Bruce and Judy tell us about the High Court trial.